So on today's video, I wanted to talk about dealing with niggles and dealing with injuries. And I think this is something that's not talked about enough. I feel like a lot of people, they tend to shun away from it, and they think that an injury it means that they're less because they're injured. Or if they're experiencing a niggle, like they can't perform to their best, it means that, they're not the best that they can be, which means they're less, which I don't believe in at all. I really think that sort of notion, that sort of idea, where you're less of an athlete or you're less of a person just because you're injured, just because you can't perform at the same rate as you were before, I think that is completely false and definitely should not be within the mind of an athlete, especially a younger athlete or a junior athlete, because it can be very debilitating and it can be very unmotivating, which is of course not what we want for young athletes. We want to be empowering them, we want to be pushing them to push their boundaries and exceed their limits. But when dealing with injuries and dealing with niggles, the other thing that I get really peeved about is when the athlete doesn't reach out to the physio or even tell their coach. Let's start with not telling their coach. Essentially, what I've experienced in the past as a coach is an athlete might experience like a shoulder niggle or a bit of a knee niggle when they're squatting, shoulder niggle when they're benching, and they sort of let it carry on and they say, they think to themselves, it'll be fine, like it'll fix itself in a few days, until it doesn't. And basically, when it doesn't, that's when the athlete reaches out to the client, reaches out to the coach or myself, and tells them like, look, I've been experiencing this sort of like shoulder niggle or this knee pain for the past X amount of days, perhaps even weeks. What should we do about it? That really peeves me because we could have addressed this earlier, and if we had addressed this earlier, we could have fixed this much, much faster, rather than getting to a point where it's actually impacting your performance now. So that's the first thing when dealing with injuries and niggles. Don't wait and don't hesitate to let your coach know about it. The other thing is also not, beyond just letting your coach know about it, is reaching out to a physio, reaching out to a trusted health professional to get it looked at, get it assessed. As an online coach, there are limitations to our service that we can provide, and that's just the nature of our job. Seeing someone face to face and being able to talk to someone face to face is very different to talk to someone online, and this gets even, more compounded when we're talking about injuries and niggles. But actually going to see a physio, going to see an exercise physiologist about your injury, about your niggle, can help you get better faster. And I feel like for a lot of junior athletes, a lot of young athletes, they tend to put this off. I understand that financial barriers could be a limitation, but if you are experiencing niggle and it's prolonged over a period of time and it's not getting better, doing the same thing that you've been doing the past few weeks, the past few months is not going to do anything. It's not going to help get things better. Possibly load management, yes, like your coach may be able to provide some sort of insight into load management, into doing some sort of drills or some sort of like activations or some sort of these warm-ups that can help. But ultimately, there are limitations to a coach. They're not a physio for a reason. They're your coach, right? So the second thing that I want to mention about injuries and niggles is don't hesitate to reach out to a health professional and don't wait until it's too late. So end of the day, if you are experiencing an injury or a niggle, it doesn't make you any less of an athlete, doesn't make you any less of a powerlifter, and doesn't make you any less of a person. That's the first thing that I want you to keep in mind, because end of the day, it's not going to be there forever. But the only way that you are going to get better is if you make sure you communicate to your coach, you reach out to a health professional if you need to, and that's how it's going to get better. You're not going to get better by just staying the same. So hopefully you got some sort of insight from that. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you do need any help getting stronger, DM me, let's work it out.